Then when I started raising my voice that I don't have corona, the nurse was like, respect yourself. And then I was like, no, tell me what's going on. Like, I don't have anything. I told you guys that I just didn't eat much. So they called security of the general hospital. He came inside the room where I was sitting in the bed. The security grabbed me from my clothes, dragged me to the floor.
This day I'm just like, wow, they literally used me for 2 months. It was a struggle.
And that's when his boot was in my face, his hand was in my face. This place was purple. My eyes from here and here was, the inside was red. And as you can see, I have here the too. Yeah, that's from his boot.
The northern part of Cyprus can be described as a cultural melting pot. A walk through the old city of Nicosia would reveal an assortment of landmarks and historic monuments that show an eclectic fusion of cultures throughout the years. This island has been a place where cultures, civilization, societies, and people mix, resulting in a unique island and land that few other places on Earth can match. But above all, it is the diversity of the modern-day community that brings past and present together towards a better and more inclusive future. This is due in no small part to the presence of international students from all over the globe. The last 10 years have seen a steady growth in the international student community in the northern part of Cyprus. The significant economic and cultural contribution of thousands of individuals from over 100 countries cannot be overlooked. The cross-pollination of cultures and ideas creates a better society. As such, the island has been presented with a golden opportunity to take advantage of its diversity. It is time for us to join hands and work together towards making much-needed changes while respecting all races and ethnicities. After all, we are all humans, every one of us with the capacity to touch the world and leave it a better place than we found it. So what is your story?
I'm one of the shop owners in Mausa Kale Passage. It's a bar, and there is another facilities as well inside, like jewelry kind of shops or handmade craft kind of stuff. And I'm living here. I think there is racism, but not that much, at least from where I live, my, let's say, my habitat around me. I don't see much. I don't think in that way as well. So, but we heard as general sayings, you know, like when people talk about it. But the younger generation is much more clever about these issues, that they can understand that here's the world, so we're all this together kind of stuff. But it will change, and it seems positive to me. How it goes seems positive to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Would you say, do you have like any personal experience or a story, a memory you had with a student here? In the bar or in your life in general, you can share with us maybe?
I do have memories with like foreign students here, but it's not like any other memory than any other people, you know? Like, it's like you became friends somehow because you have some common points, like going to the bar and drinking maybe. Maybe I own the bar, maybe they came. it's okay. I can put myself into every position in that, but I cannot specify anything like this happened with a foreign student or whatever, but this happens with a friend or something. That's what.
Institutions are the pillars of society. Their choices, decisions, and acts can give us either a dignified life or a hard one.
As a Turkish citizen here, I do feel like I have more privileges over other international students since I am a Turkish citizen and because I can pass the language barrier. But most people here, locals as well, they also know English. So yes, you're going to meet some people that do not understand some students, but most people know English, and if they want to understand, they will understand.
This rings true even more for international students and people in a foreign land, as their rights can be completely dependent on these institutions.
Well, to be honest, it was not my first option because I was trying to get into one of the universities back home. It's a new one, it just opened, it has like, it's trendy and the education is for free and it's really like high, like ranked university in my country. But well, I didn't get in. I was lacking like 2 points in the exam, so I had to look for some other options, but I didn't have much time, to be honest, because it was like midsummer. So then a friend of mine who was going to go here already just, told me about this opportunity. I was like, okay, that's really nice. So I just checked up with all the requirements they had, and it just worked.
I came here to study, and I was not fully informed of the place I was coming to. The person that brought me here lied to me. He lied to me so much and made me believe things that were not true. And he told me that that everything here is cheap. You can easily communicate with everyone. And me being a guy, he told me that, the girls, they love black men and whatnot. And, I was intrigued. I was like, I kind of like this place. I'm going to, venture into something new. And he told me that houses are cheap, but for some reason, he kept on wanting me to go into the dorms. And, I kept on insisting not to go into the dorms because I didn't want to be in dorm for my first semester. But when my dad came, he convinced my dad that, dorm was what's best for me. And when I got to dorm, I'd pre-booked a dorm for myself, a single person dorm. So when I got here, I went to the international office and I was registering, I registered. So there was a miscommunication. The person that was behind me got my room, and I was then forced to go into a 4-person dorm. So when I went to the dorm, I realized that it was a 4-person dorm, and I went back because when I opened the door, got into the room, the first thing I saw was a black, hairy man coming down off a bunk bed. And I was like, I am definitely not staying here. I went back to the international office and I told them, please find me another room, up until they sent me to a 2-person room. And that 2-person room, it was substandard from what I had seen online and the pictures of the rooms I was being showed by my agent.
Okay, in terms of schooling here, I would say in my department, it's kind of okay in the sense that, they tend to be strict in what they want from students. There's this very strong need for perfection, especially in architecture. So they kind of push you to almost beyond your limits, in the sense that I noticed even in the department, when the lecturers are trying to communicate or trying to teach, they tend to explain more in Turkish than in English. It's even they explain in Iranian as well, so in Farsi, sorry. So you see someone explaining for like 30 minutes in Turkish, maybe 10 minutes in Iranian, and they will tell you in English, in summary, what I was trying to say was, and he talks for like 2 minutes, and you're like, okay, I know that this explanation was way more than this, but we just have to.
Uluslararası öğrencilerle ilgili unutulmayacak çok fazla anım var. Çünkü çok fazla değer verdiğim, çok yakın olduğum insanlar var uluslararası öğrenciler arasında. O nedenle çok özel anılarım var onlarla. Ama tabii ki dostluk, arkadaşlık penceresi dışında uluslararası öğrenciler perspektifinden bakarsak benim için unutulmaz anılar daha çok onların kültürlerini, yaşam tarzlarını, dünyaya bakış açılarını paylaştığımız anlar. Unutulmaz anlar diye tanımlayabileceğim. Çünkü onların kültürlerine, yaşamlarına, onlar için dünyanın nasıl olduğuna tanık olmak bende çok güzel duygular uyandırıyor. Bunlardan en temeli belki de hepimizin ne kadar farklı ve bu farklılıkların ne kadar büyük bir zenginlik olduğunu görmek ve bunun yanı sıra aslında hepimizin ne kadar da benzer olduğunu görmek oluyor. Bunları yaşadığım anda düşündüğüm şu oluyor. Aslında hepimiz bir ağacın dalları gibiyiz. Her bir dal birbirinden farklı, her bir dalın açısı farklı. Ancak özünde aynı kökte birleşiyoruz ve bu bütünlüğü hissetmek aslında dünyanın her yerinden insanlarla ne kadar farklı, zengin yönleri olduğunu görmekle birlikte ne kadar benzer yönlerimiz olduğunu görmek bana çok güzel hissettiriyor. Bunun haricinde anı olarak, somut, spesifik bir anı olarak söyleyebileceğim. Burada ben her zaman otostop çeken herhangi birisini gördüğümde ki özellikle yabancı olduğunu fark edersem alıyorum. Yabancı olduğunu fark edersem alma nedenim de diğer insanların almayacağını bildiğim için alıyorum. Çünkü bu konuda sürekli de uyarılıyorum genelde çevremdekiler tarafından. İşte aman sakın Afrikalı birisini alma, sakın Pakistanlı alma, sakın filancalı alma, sakın yabancı arabana alma, başına ne geleceği belli olmaz. Ya arabana uyuşturucu bırakırlarsa, ya işte sana saldırmaya çalışırlarsa, bir şeyini çalarlarsa gibi çok fazla önyargıyla karşılaşıyorum. Ve bu önyargılar aslında o maalesef adamızdaki ayrımcılığın ve ırkçılığın, ötekileştirmenin göstergesi diye düşünüyorum. Bir keresinde bir arkadaşımla araçta giderken yine yol kenarında geleneksel giysili bir öğrenciyi gördük. Ben tabii hemen durdum almak için. Sanıyorum Pakistanlı bir öğrenciydi. Durdum almak için ve arkadaşım ciddi şekilde tepki gösterdi. Alma, ya bize bir şey yaparsa, arka koltuktan ya bize herhangi bir şeyde bulunursa ne yaparız gibi bir tedirginlik yaşadı arkadaşım ve ben şimdiye kadar hiçbir şekilde hiçbir sorun yaşamadığını söyledim. Yolumuza devam ettik. Lefkoşa'nın girişinde galeriyanın oralarda, terminalin yakınlarında aracı durdurmamı istedi. Durdurduğumuzda kendisinin bir yere kadar gidip geleceğini söyledi ve indi arabadan. Orada beklerken yine o ön yargılarla arkadaşım gidelim, işte ne olacak belli değil, belki yanında birilerini getirecek, belki bize bir şey yapacaklar, neden bizi bekletiyor gibi tedirginlikler yaşadı. Ve ben hiçbir şekilde tedirgin olmaması gerektiği konusunda onu uyardım. Bekledik bir süre ve sonra arkadaş geri döndü elinde 2 tane dondurmayla birlikte ve bize ne kadar minnettar olduğunu, teşekkür etmek istediğini göstermek için. Eklemek istediğim şeylerden birisi de şu ki geçtiğimiz aylarda bir televizyon programına denk gelmiştim. Bu programda üniversite öğrenci birlikleri temsilcilerinden birisi davet edilmişti ve katılımcı bir Türktü. Ve o öğrenciye sizce adada ırkçılık var mı, yabancı öğrencilere yönelik ırkçılık yapılıyor mu gibi bir soru sorulmuştu. Ve öğrenci de tabii ki kendi deneyimlerinden hareketle hayır ben hiç böyle bir şeye şahit olmadım demişti. Benim söylemek istediğim konu şu ki burada ciddi anlamda büyük bir uluslararası öğrenciler nüfusu var ve adadaki öğrenci kitlesi göz önünde bulundurulduğunda ciddi bir kitleye karşılık geliyor bu öğrenciler ve öğrencilerle eğer bu yabancı öğrencilerle ilgili koşullar tartışılacaksa yine o öğrencilerin muhatap olarak görülmesi gerektiğini düşünüyorum. Adadaki pek çok üniversite öğrenci birliklerindeki temsilcilerin çoğu Türk. Belki bu dil sorunuyla da ilgilidir. Yabancı öğrencilerin herkesin İngilizce bilmemesiyle de ilgili olabilir, yabancı öğrencilerle iletişim kurma sıkıntısından dolayı. Ancak eğer onlarla ilgili bir konu konuşulacaksa, onların sorunları, problemleriyle ilgili bir konu konuşulacaksa, yabancı öğrencilerin adadaki koşullarının ne olduğuyla ilgili bir konu konuşulacaksa, yine o öğrencilerin muhatap alınması gerektiğini düşünüyorum. O öğrencilerden dinlenilmesi gerektiğini düşünüyorum. Bir şeyleri değiştirmenin de bu şekilde mümkün olduğunu düşünüyorum.
Therefore, it is up to institutions to uphold human rights and equality among all, which will uplift everyone in society and create utopias, or to instead slack off on their duties or even pursue their own interests, which when done, the consequences can be quite severe.
Öğrenim müfettiş olarak çalışmaktayım. Milli Eğitim ve Kültür Bakanlığı bünyesinde. 1967 Baf doğumluyum. 74'ten sonra Kuzey'e geldik. Burada yaşıyoruz. Esas ailem, anne babam, herkes Kıbrıs doğumlu ve büyüğüm. Şu an burada uluslararası öğrencilerin burslarıyla ilgilenmekteyim. Bu öğrencilerin işte 200 tanesinin burslarına vermekle yükümlüyüm. Onların işte varsa sorunlar, onlarla uğraşıyorum. Şu anki görevim bu. Uluslararası öğrenciler. Bir de dairemizin dış ilişkiler şube amirliğini yapmaktayım. Yani ben de öyle bir şey arzu ederim. Çocuklar keşke hepsi çalışabilse. Herkes part-time bir iş bulup en azından okul harcına veya cep harçlıklarına katkı koyabilse. Ama küçücük bir ülkeyiz ve iş imkanları çok sınırlı. Yani bir öğrencinin de iş yaparken öğrenciye yakışan bir işte çalışması lazım. İşte bir ofis işi olabilir, bir restoran, kafeterya işi olabilir. Yani inşaat bir öğrenci için uygun bir iş değildir. Bugün bir sanayi bölgesinde yapılacak iş bir öğrenci için uygun iş değildir. Çünkü orada performans gün boyu devam ettiği için öğrenci çok yoruluyor. Yurduna veya evine döndüğü zaman ders çalışması, derslerine adapte olması, iyi puan alabilmesi biraz imkansızlaşıyor. Dolayısıyla ben hep öğrencinin hafif işlerde part-time çalışması taraftarıyım ki gündelik ihtiyaçlarını karşılayabilsin. Ama dediğim gibi küçük bir ülkeyiz ve yani hep bütün öğrencilere de bu imkanı verme şansımız yok. Sınırlıyız. Sonuçta benim de yurt dışında okuyan bir kızım var ve az buçuk yabancı bir ülkede okuyabilmenin ne demek olduğunu iyi bilirim. Az buçuk hissedebiliyorum yani bir öğrencinin yabancı bir toplum içerisinde yaşamasının nasıl sıkıntılar yaratabileceğini. Buradaki öğrenciler için şöyle bir şey söyleyebilirim. Yol boyunca hep işe gidip gelirken bir sürü öğrencinin otostop yaptığını görüyorum ve bu bana acı veriyor. Yani bu adaya getirilmiş olduğumuz öğrenciler toplu taşımacılık olmadığı için, düzgün bir çalışan toplu taşımacılık olmadığı için yollarda perişan oluyorlar. Otostop yapıyorlar. Öbür taraftan çoğu uluslararası öğrencimin bana gelip yaptığı şikayetlerin içerisinde ev kiraları veya sözleşmelerle ilgili sıkıntılar var. Genellikle öğrencilerimiz işte kontratları yaparken ev sahibinin belirlediği bütün kurallara uymakla yükümlü oluyorlar. Bu da hiç hoş olmuyor. Dolayısıyla bir ortak yol bulup bu sözleşmeleri yaparlarken o kurallar çerçevesinde sözleşme yapıp öğrencinin mağdur edilmeyeceği makul rakamlarla kiraların verilmesi gerektiği kanaatindeyim. Bir diğeri dediğim gibi taşımacılık. Orada gerçekten sorun var. Bir de yabancı uyruklu öğrencilerimizin kendi kişisel dolaşımları, belki ibadetleri, çünkü ülke içerisinde seyahat o da bir sıkıntı. Turistik yerlere, tarihi yerlere giderken mutlaka araba kiralamak zorunda kalıyorlar. Otobüs taşımacılığı bir deniz kenarına yok. Bir öğrenci deniz kenarına gidecekse kesinlikle ya arkadaşının arabasıyla veya bir kiralık arabayla gitmek zorunda kalıyor. Bu da bir sorun oluyor tabii onlar için. Bu tür sosyal aktiviteler için bilmiyorum okulları hafta sonları belki otobüs seferleri düzenleyebilir. Veya toplu taşımacılık sunan şirketlerle bir anlaşma sağlanıp öğrencileri hafta sonları bu tip yerlere, deniz kenarına, bir otelin havuzuna belki taşıyacak servislerin olması makul olabilir diye düşünüyorum. Yani öğrencilerimizin diğer türlü yaşayabileceği sıkıntılar işte restoranda, kafelerde, marketlerde veya diğer bulundukları mekandaki sorunlar zaten sadece onlara mahsus sorun değildir. Onları ben de yaşıyorum gittiğim yerlerde. Bir restoran bana da çok fahiş bir rakam çıkarabilir hesabımı. O zaman ben de tartışıyorum restoran sahibiyle. Taksi şoförü belki bana da pahalı bir fiyat verebilir. Ben de çoğu zaman taksi şoförüyle tartışıyorum. Yani bu genel sorunlar hepimizi içine alan sorunlardır ama özellikle öğrenciler için dediğim gibi okul ve sosyal aktivitelere taşımacılık, ev kiraları, kiraların standart bir prosedüre oturtulmaması bunları ciddi sorun olarak görüyorum. Öncelikle öğrencilere gelmeden önce tavsiyem burada tanıdıkları öğrenciler vasıtasıyla bilgi alıp gelsinler. Acenteler çok da güvenilir yerler değildir. Çünkü acente öğrencinin sırtından para kazanan şahıslardır. Çok sağlıklı olmayan bilgiler vererek bu öğrenci bir şekilde buraya getirip komisyonunu almaya çalışırlar. Dolayısıyla burada olan öğrenciden bilgi alırlarsa buradaki işleyişin ne olduğunu, öğrencinin gelirken en az ne kadar parayla gelmesi gerektiğini, buradaki yaşam şartlarının ne kadar pahalı veya ucuz olduğunu oradan ölçüp biçip tartması gerektiğini düşünüyorum. Aksi takdirde sadece internet üzerinden paylaşılan bilgiler veya acentelerin verdiği bilgilerle yola çıkıp buraya gelirlerse işte örneklerini yaşadığımız çocuklar vardır buraya burs programına başvururken. Kendi hikayelerini anlatırlar. Derler ki işte beni filan acente getirdi, buraya bıraktı. Bana dedi ki part-time iş bulacağım. Hem çalışıp hem okuyacağım ama maalesef geldiğim zaman ne iş bulabildim, ne okulumu finanse edecek herhangi bir para getirdim. Dolayısıyla şu an sokaktayım veya caminin gösterdiği bir odada kalmaktayım. Bunlar da hoş şeyler değildir. Yani öğrencinin bir şekilde buraya getirtilip mağdur edilmesi hoş değildir. Gerekiyorsa üniversitenin danışmanlarıyla veya international ofisiyle bağlantı kurup buraya gelsinler ve gerçekten sağlıklı bilgi elde edip gelsinler. Aksi takdirde kulaktan dolma sadece bir acentenin lafıyla yola çıkar gelirlerse işte ve ondan sonra caminin göstereceği bir odada kalmak zorunda kalırlar. Veya bir başka öğrencim, Yemenli bir öğrencim, acentenin getirip buraya bıraktığı ve 5 parasız kaldığı günleri anlatan bir öğrencim bana şöyle anlatmıştı. 5 parasız bir odada, baraka gibi bir odada kalmak zorundayım hocam. Lütfen elimden tutun, gidecek, sığınacak bir yerim yok, kapım yok. Lütfen bu scholarship programdan yararlanmazsam kesinlikle borç para bulup geri ülkeme dönmek zorunda kalacağım. Ve Yemen'de savaş var, lütfen beni geri göndermeyin dedi. Yani o gün benim yüreğim parçalandı adeta. Bir şekilde komisyon üyeleriyle irtibat kurdum. Başvurusunu komisyona götürdüm. İşte kabul edilmesi için elimden geleni yaptım. Sağ olsun burs komisyonumuz da duyarsız kalmadı ve o bursu verdi. O çocuğun ne kadar başarılı oluyor. Şu an en son lisans mezuniyeti son dönem 4.00'la dönemini tamamladı. Ve benim gurur kaynağım oldu. Komisyon üyelerine şimdi söylüyorum. Gördünüz mü bu çocuğa bu bursu verdik ama şu an derecesi 4.00 ve master bursu için de bize tekrar geri başvurmuş durumdadır. Tabii ki elimden geleni yapmak zorundayım. Bu çocuğun tekrardan bursa devam edebilmesi için elimden geleni yapmak zorundayım. Çünkü böyle iyi çocukları kaybetmememiz lazım. Şu an savaş ortamı bulunan bir ülkeye tekrar geri gönderirsem belki de o almış olduğu eğitimi bir kurşunla sıfırlamış olabilirim. Dolayısıyla şu an bir dönem daha burada kalsın. Belki master bursundan yararlanır da master'ı da okursa 2 yıl sonra ortamın yatıştığı bir ülkeye göndermek benim için daha hayırlı ve öğrenci açısından da daha iyi olur diye düşünüyorum.
So maybe as someone who's pretty active within the social community here, I've realized that there are so many problems that students face in the area that we're in. They can go from gender-based issues to housing issues, working issues, and so on, especially within the different institutions. But I mean, it's a beautiful environment. The place is nice. The people are nice. It just has so much potential, but we see that this potential is not being brought out in the best way possible. And it breaks your heart when you see that so many people around you can be helpless, can feel lost, can feel suffocated sometimes by all the things that they go through. And you can't even help them in the best way possible.
I came here because it was a better opportunity for me, because my country, it is hard living, where life there is so hard and the poverty and universities are not good. When I heard about this university and the ranking of the world rank, that's when I had the chance to come here. I was experienced with institutional discrimination in this island when it comes to racial, when it comes to my skin, where I'm from, when it comes to the language barrier, when it comes to me as a student, because as I know, like, people in this island, they don't like students much because they do a lot of trouble. So they stereotype me as same as them, rather than thinking of they might be someone different. But most of these people in this island, they actually judge other people, especially students, when it comes to stereotyping, as all the same. The first incident for me here in this island that shifted my life, it was in the beginning of the Corona pandemic, around March. As everyone knows, that countries were suffering with money and like living standards and everything. My father had hard times to send me money, so I been broke for like a week. So I was really hungry when I was going down out from my dorm. And then because I didn't eat, I fainted. I fall down the floor. The ambulance came. They thought that I have corona. They took me to the general hospital. That's where the nurses and the doctors there, they were treating me differently. They were spraying things in my eye and they're like, wake up, do you feel any of this? And I was telling them that, I don't have corona. I just fainted like normally because of hunger. I don't have food. And so then they start talking in Turkish, and then I was telling them, like, speak in English so I can understand what's going on here. What is this? What is this? And they all start laughing. And then at some point I raised my voice because they still continued to talk in Turkish, where there's this word that right now I forgot about, but there's this word that it's kind of racist, I guess. Because when I asked about it, because it was not only one nurse, it was two of them actually, a man and then a female, male and female, was saying it. And then when I started raising my voice that I don't have corona, the nurse was like, respect yourself. And then I was like, no, tell me what's going on. Like, I don't have anything. I told you guys that I just didn't eat much. So they called the security of the general hospital. He came inside the room where I was sitting in the bed. The security grabbed me from my clothes, dragged me to the floor. I didn't have the energy to stand up because still, like, my body was drowsy and dizzy. But even though at that time I was just speaking and looking, like opening my eyes. So he pulled me down from the bed and dragged me all the way from the hall in front of the people until the security office. And then that's when his boot was in my face, his hand was in my face. This place was purple. My eyes from here and here the inside was red. And as you can see, I have here the tooth. Yeah, that's from his boot. And that was the first incident, like, he just broke my tooth. And then from there, the police officers came. And then I was telling them, like, I didn't do anything. And the police officer realized that, okay, why would they do that to this guy? Because he realized that I was beaten already, When I went to the police station, I just sit there for like 10 minutes. The officer came. I think he felt like kind of a sympathy towards me. Give me coffee, this, and then he's like telling me, I'm sorry, it's okay, it happens. And then he drive me back to the dorm. And I thought that I'm gonna have a court. And then I was telling them, like, I want to raise a complaint about this. And they're like, don't worry, I will do it, and this and this. Like, all right, okay. And then when he dropped me back to the dorm, I was stressed for like 2 months. I thought that I'm gonna have a court. And then I realized that the case didn't even reach the police station. They just buried it because they already knew that they did much trouble. And I don't know how I'm gonna get this back, but that's why I joined VOIS, so I can have my rights. My second incident, as the first incident and second, both of them are police brutality or let's say injustice. But the second one is more of the police brutality because that's where I felt like I'm a criminal for something I didn't do. I have a friend of mine who passed away in this island, and the funeral. After the funeral, it was called janaza. I don't know how to say it in English, but it's where the friends come, the family comes. If there's family, they all come, and then they just, they read the Bible or the Quran. They pray for him. So I went there. The police came. They brought in. They have a search warrant. I wasn't the only guy there who was a guest. So they searched the rooms. One of the owners of that apartment, they had stuff with them. And that's where all of us, we became part of it. And then from there, I was dragged in this problem, even though I was telling them I have nothing to do with it. They put me in the police station, in the prison of the police station for 7 days, where the first 4 days, it was 24 hours, where the room is like 2 times 2, like it's my height. It was really small and narrow, like it's the one that makes you go crazy. I stayed there for like the 7 days. The first 4 days was 24 hours lockdown. I can't even go use the bathroom. The food was terrible. I was treated like a criminal, and then from there I went to the court. That's when I realized that I'm criminal for something that I didn't do. They sent me to the prison where I stayed there also for 7 days. That was the most terrible thing, when you go to prison for something you didn't do. You're just wearing the prison clothes and you're sleeping in prison, eating the prison food. And this incident actually affected me personally and my family. They don't see me as the way I used to be. Things changed. They don't become the same with me anymore. And this incident actually changed me and made me more of like sad person, let's say cold person, because I just realized this what happened is injustice. Just realized that because I was telling them, even the guy who owns the apartment, there's like a 3+1, all of them the 3, they said in the court, the first day at court, that I was a guest. And the things belong to this guy, and this the guy who had this thing that belongs to him. He said it, that this is mine. They have nothing to do with it. I thought that was like, okay, alhamdulillah, things will be better. I would go out. They were like, okay, there's another court. And then I stayed in the police station again, like 7 days. These 7 days I went to court 2 times, which was the first day and the last day. So the last day, that's when I went, and the judge gave me probation. They sent me to jail until I paid the bail. And then because of the corona pandemic, it was really hard for my parents to send the money. So I stayed, like, rather than staying for like 2 days, 3 days, I stayed there for 7 days. It was a terrible experience. You're wearing a prison clothes for something you didn't do. Even though the guys who know that they're wrong, they said it in the court that I'm a guest, that I have nothing to do with this. It's all recorded there, but alhamdulillah.
Not everyone is as lucky as you are, and you really should be aware of what socially happens around you. You need to understand what people go through. You need to put yourself in their shoes sometimes, and you need to understand that this world is a very dark place, but you really have to find the light in it.
As we pursue equality and inclusiveness, gender issues cannot be ignored. The issue of gender equality and rights has been a significant topic for 100 years.
One experience I had where my sexuality I felt like was a target is once I was with my friends. We went to a neon party here in the island, and we thought it was going to be very fun, and it was for the most part, until I started dancing with my friends in a way where they didn't find it normal, a little bit maybe too provocative, in a way of, oh, it is not the same sex, like opposite sex is the same sex, and they kicked us out for that specific reason if we do not stop dancing in that way. So we just decided, me and my friends, to just leave, because clearly this is not a welcoming place for us and we cannot have fun and be comfortable with our own skin. So we just left.
Any modern society based on human rights and equal treatment for all must recognize the value of all genders and their contributions to society, and must act in accordance with that.
My experience as an LGBT international student here has been a roller coaster. I faced a lot of criticism and hate, especially during my first year, because a lot of Zimbabweans don't think, that people like that exist in their own country. So then when you come out here, they look at you like you're an embarrassment for them. And I noticed that the biggest haters are actually usually the people from your own country. But at the last 2 years, I have accepted myself more and more, and I experiment a lot more with my style, my clothes, my hair. And I feel like me accepting myself opened the door for people to then respect me for who I am and all that I am. There's good people and there's those who just don't like you for who you are. But that's okay, because not everyone's going to like you, and that's just how the world is.
Ben uluslararası öğrencilerle kendimi eşit olarak hissetmiyorum aslında tam anlamıyla. Neden bu şekilde düşünüyorum? Çünkü onların bana göre dezavantajlı durumda olduklarını düşünüyorum. En basit örneği, ben bir ev kiralamak istediğimde, bu adanın herhangi bir yerinde ev kiralamak istediğimde, ten rengime, geldiğim ülkeye, kültürüme göre bir muameleyle karşılaşmıyorum ev sahipleri tarafından. Girne'de bir üniversitede çalıştığım dönemde 2 Kamerunlu öğrenciye ev bulmak için bazı emlakçılarla görüşmüştüm. Ve aldığım cevap çoğunlukla biz Afrikalı öğrencilere ev vermiyoruz şeklindeydi. Yine ben dediğim gibi ten rengimden dolayı bir kadın olarak hiçbir zaman ücretli bir şekilde cinsellik teklifiyle karşılaşmıyorum. Yine bir arkadaşımdan örnek vermek gerekirse otostop çektiği bir aracın sürücüsü tarafından ücret karşılığı birliktelik teklif edilmişti kendisine. Bunu öğrendiğimde çok öfkelendim. Neden numarasını almadın, neden plakasını almadın diye tepki göstermiştim. Fakat haliyle burada bir yabancı olarak tedirgin olduğunu, neyle karşılaşacağını bilmediğini, kimseyi karşısına almak istemediğini, bununla birlikte eğer bu şekilde bir şey duyulursa insanlar tarafından kendisine nasıl yaklaşılacağına dair kaygıları olduğundan bahsetmişti. Yine bir başka sorun olarak bahsedebileceğim, dezavantajlı durum olarak bahsedebileceğim bir konu. Ben burada yerli olduğum için ulaşım sorunu yaşadığımda kendi aracım olmasa bile bir tanıdığım vasıtasıyla yine bir yerlere gidebilmem mümkün. Ancak burada bir uluslararası öğrenci ciddi anlamda ulaşım sorunu yaşayabiliyor. Çünkü toplu taşımamız yeterli düzeyde değil, çok kısıtlı, çok sınırlı.
How it made me feel when I was just trying to have fun and dance with my friends and just enjoy the night, thinking everybody was welcomed. And as soon as you start feeling comfortable with your own skin and happy with yourself and with your friends, and then told to stop having fun the way you want to just because they feel like it's against human ideology or human, I don't know, club law or something, or human comfort, other human comfort rather than your own, it's really made me feel like I'm not being treated as a human, while others were. Their concern and their uncomfortable experiences with me dancing with my friends was way more important than actually saying that this is a party where everybody is welcomed and can have fun. That's the biggest one. I felt disappointed. I felt degraded as a human. I felt unwelcomed, and that's the reason why I just ended up leaving the party rather than staying and trying to stop myself. I wouldn't want to be in a place where I could try to, like, I can't even have fun, and I just decided to then just leave.
I think society could be more inclusive by educating people about the LGBT community. I think a lot of hate comes from a lack of understanding. There's a lot of times that I can use an example, which actually works for me as well. Growing up, people kind of, I'd say in Zimbabwe, it was common to say that most terrorists were Muslim. And I think it was a lack of understanding, because I made a lot of Muslim friends here, and I think they were some of the most amazing people. And they're judged based off of, you know, a rumor that somebody has said, or just spread. And I think that affects everybody else. But, you know, from speaking to them, they've helped me understand how those people come about doing things like, you know, terrorist attacks. And I think in the same light, if people were educated about, you know, how this comes about, because a lot of people I know, they don't understand it. Some say it's a hormonal imbalance or whatever. I don't know what it is, but I think if we all try to listen to each other, it would definitely make a huge difference.
People in that society must also know that we are all one and the same, and recognize that when people from a certain gender are denied their rights and denied equal treatment, it can have significant results on the society as a whole, and as the individual themselves as well.
I mean, it's been a week and a half in the project. Already had quite an impact on me, actually. I mean, first of all, let's start with the things I've heard, the things I've seen from the interviewees, the stories I've heard. They already, gave me... although I know a lot of them, like, I knew this stuff happens here. This time I saw it in person, you know, I saw it up close. I heard people, what they went through, the things they went through from all kinds of issues, whether housing or racism or poverty or scam and so on. So it made me more grateful about my life. It gave me a new perspective, a new level, let's say. It made me more aware of what happens here, even though I was already quite aware, but even more aware. You can never be, I guess, aware enough. Second of all, I've already learned a lot. I've already, in terms of experience, in terms of management or leadership, or even for I'm studying psychology, and even my psychology skills improved because I interviewed some people, and then you have to know how to talk to people. So I've already gained quite a lot of experience and learned a lot. So the impact already on me has been quite a lot already, actually.
Well, I really can't maybe confirm that when someone lives here, or maybe make up your mind to base here to earn a living, something like that, because since I came here, like I said, I am a student here, right? I'm a student. I go to school, like what I explained to you, that job opportunity here is very, very difficult. Though I did not come here for job. But I know it is very, very essential, very normal that even when you are schooling here, when you're a student, you have certain jobs that you have to be doing so as to sustain or carry on some certain, things that concerns you. So I just believe after my studies, I have to go back to my country. That's just all.
But do you think it's possible as a student, primarily, to find a part-time work, just help yourself? Is that easy?
Yeah, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. The problem there is, I know to look for a part-time job, it depends on the individual, right? Because I know to look for a part-time job when you are just at home, it's very, very normal that you can't get it. You just have to go, out in search of it. Maybe if you are fortunate, then you have it. That is what I know.
It should be recognized that several international students are in a position where they have to focus on their studies while trying to fund their stay on the island by themselves. It is imperative that their right to decent working conditions is upheld against the background of unsafe workplaces and unfair wages for international students. More can be done to better their stay and ensure they take care of their needs.
I started working here because I needed money, not because I was fond of it. And by the time I earned good money or bad money, all it has taught me is that we always have to sacrifice some of our needs in order to fulfill our other needs. This is how it has affected my lifestyle. This is how working has had a major influence in how I'm controlling my finances, because when you earn, then you have to say, okay, what is the biggest necessity? Not even what is the necessity, the biggest one. And then you go for that. And then the other ones are left behind. But it's okay, because at the end of the day, you have what is going to make you function in your life, and you work hard. But it is challenging, as I just say, in every part it is, and I don't know how more I can emphasize on that. But yeah, this is how it affected my life, and I think it will continue.
I remember the first ever time I worked here was in 2018. I was doing flower delivery, so I delivered flowers for these white old men. I would take them from their garden, like a warehouse type of garden. I would pick them up and we put them in a truck and take them to to the place wherever we're delivering at that point in time. So at first this man they were really nice, and I was like, these people are really fair, because we did the same work as everyone else did, and it was pretty fair. But then up until the end of the month came, and I think at that time that's when we got paid, because he paid us more, and he paid us all at once. So when I realized that all the people that are Turkish are getting 500 lira more than everyone else is getting, because I think I was the only black person working there, and everyone else most of them are Turkish. I'm the only person black who's getting 500 less than everyone, and I do as the same work as they do, and I found that not fair. And I tried complaining, but they're like, if you don't like it, my friend, just leave.
I've worked here, and it was very challenging. So I used to work for 12 to 13 hours a day, and mind you, the hours were not fixed. So there were some days where I'd work longer, and that made it very challenging. And when I went there, they told me I was doing a certain job, and I ended up doing a lot of other things besides the specific thing I was there to do. I was told I was going to do. So that made it very challenging, because I went there with the mindset that I'm going to be a waitress, I'm going to be doing this part. And when I got there, I was doing multiple things. Like, now I had to go to the kitchen, make the coffee. I don't know if usually back in my country, if you a waitress, you don't go behind bars to make the coffee and all of that. You're a waitress in front. So yeah, it was different. I had to make the coffee. While I'm making the coffee, I had to attend to my customers. While attending to my customers, I would have to go to the kitchen to get something, which was just a lot of work on me, and I was doing all of this alone. Yeah.
Ever since I came here, yes, I've been working. I had my first job in my very first semester, and from that time till now, I have worked in several places under several conditions. And working here for a student part-time is hard, of course, because they have to manage their school and manage their work, and they are in a bubble where they have to excel at both tasks that are running at the same time. It is hard, but I think that every student should work part-time. That is the only way, in my opinion, that they can learn what real life is and how hard and challenging it can be.
So it got to a point where I just couldn't deal with all the disrespect that was happening there, the mistreating. So I gave them a 2 weeks notice to tell them that I couldn't work there anymore. I thought I was being nice by telling them that, but the owner didn't take it lightly. He got mad. He told me, "You'll make sure I don't get a job in this place." And I was like, wow, that is not nice of you to say. But anyways, it is what it is. So the next time I went back to work, I found 4 new workers, 4 new waitresses. So I was a waitress. I found 4 new waitresses. And I think that got to me because first of all, they were a different race from me. I was black, they were white. So that was number one. I was just like, wow, okay. I can't say anything about this. So I went ahead and I asked one of my co-workers. I was like, why are there so many new faces here? And she was like, it's because you said you were going to quit. So they decided to get new workers. And for me, it was just also all of this time they've been taking advantage of me because I've literally been doing the work they're doing by myself alone, and they never said anything. I told them multiple times that it was a lot of work. Mind you, at some point, these people used to take me home. At some point, I started hitchhiking back home. It wasn't easy because you get into so many strange people's cars, and it's quite scary sometimes because, I mean, you're so tired from work. You've been there for 13 hours. You just want to get home. You can't even walk anymore. So you just go with it. I just found it so unfair. I felt used. The fact that there were 4 workers doing exactly the same work I was doing, mind you, the place wasn't even as full as before. It wasn't as busy as it was before when I started working. So I think that just got to me. I think that actually pushed me to want to leave the place even more. I didn't even think twice now before leaving the place and giving it another try because I just felt like, so now if I tell them I want to stay, they will tell these 4 workers to leave because they're aware that the same amount they're paying me alone, now they have to double 4 times it by 4 to pay other people. If they can save the 3, why not hire me? Don't know if that makes sense, but I think that just up to this day, I'm just like, wow, they literally used me for 2 months. It was a struggle.
Finding a job here, especially for international students, is not quite easy because wherever the international student, for me, when I went to look for a job, they would just ask me if I speak Turkish. And before I could just say that yes or no, they would just say that, okay, fine, we'll just call you. And some places they would just not even hear you and they would let you go like that. It is hard for international students because, they have to face the biggest challenge, that is language barrier. But now that I have worked here, I think it is not really the language barrier. It just depends on who they want to hire. And when they see somebody from not this place, they would, of course, have some ideas of not giving them the chance.
We realized one day when we were going home that there was this lady that was, I think she was from Kazakhstan or something like that. She was complaining on the bus Like she was really pissed. Like she had a hard day and the work was so hard. And it was funny because the whole boss laughed because they knew that all she was doing all day was serving tea. So someone just asked playfully, like, why are you complaining? Like, you're getting 850 for just serving tea. We are getting 850 for tending to the horses or walking at the beach or walking in the swimming pool. And she was like, 850? No, she's not getting 850. She's getting 1,005. And the whole boss gasped, like, 1,005, are you sure? And she was like, yeah, that's what she was being paid. Even the receptionist is getting 3,000 tele. And we were really mad. So we went to the owner, and the owner was like, no, it's not possible, it's a lie. That he really wants to know the person who's lied about the price to him. And we were like, no, don't worry. I just told him that if he wasn't going to increase the salary to 1,005, then I wasn't going to work. So that was the day I stopped working in the hotel. Sometimes you don't get paid. Sometimes you're not allowed to eat at break time because probably the amount of work they gave you at that time was more than what you could do in the period of time allocated. So most times they give you something worth 2 hours and they give you like 1 hour to do it. So they will tell you, oh, you can't have your break now. Finish it first, then have your food later. And most times you go to the canteen after you've done your work and they tell you, sorry, the food is finished, wait till closing. So obviously you know that by that time that you're not eating for that day. And so a very bad experience I had was, okay, they all know that Africans or students, let's not even generalize Africans now, students in general need more money. So they promised that if we worked double shifts, that's 16-hour shift, you'll get double the money. So we did it, and I'll never forget that day because they were having a concert of like 5,000 people. So they needed extra hands, obviously, and they wanted us to like go to the store and clean the extra forks and cutleries and all that. So we did that for like 4 hours on end, just cleaning, more than. And every person was supposed to have a 3-course meal. So do the math. 5,000 forks, knives, spoons per person. So imagine doing that kind of work, and at the end of the day, after 16 hours, you go home and they tell you, oh, sorry, at the moment you can only pay you for 8 hours. Come back the next day. And they literally keep stretching it until you're forced to forget about your money, because at the end of the day, all the people you asked pretend like they didn't know what you were talking about. Everybody suddenly has memory loss.
نعم، نوعا ما سعيد في وجودي هون. يعني لو ما كنت سعيد ما بضل الفترة هاي كلها. أنا كنت طالب وخلصت دراستي وحاولت إني ألاقي شغل إلي هون بسبب حبي وسعادتي للبلد اللي أنا فيها هون. الناس نوعا ما محبين، متعاونين، متقبلين للآخر، للأجانب. ما بحكي إنه ما في يعني تمييز أو نوع من العنصرية، بس يعني مقارنة في البلاد الأخرى هون البلد مريحة يعني، والأجنبي بيعيش بسلام، ما في أي حدا ممكن يتعدى عليه. البلد آمنة بشكل عام سواء لأهل البلد نفسها أو للأجانب. ما في سرقات، ما في عنف، ما في اعتداء على الآخرين. في نوع من الحرية، كل إنسان بيعيش حياته هون بالطريقة اللي بحبها. الحرية هون مجالها يعني بتوقع إنه من أكثر البلاد في العالم اللي هون الإنسان بيقدر يعيش في حريته الكاملة، ما في أي قيود، سواء من ناحية إيجابية أو حتى من ناحية سلبية. وهذا سلاح ذو حدين، ممكن الإنسان هون ينحرف بسهولة، وبنفس الوقت لو هو عنده الرادع الداخلي هو ممكن يعيش بكل يعني الأمور اللي هو بيشوفها إنه لازم يطبقها في حياته. ما في حدا بيعترض عليه، ما في حدا بيفرض عليه أي إشي. يعني بتقدر هون تعيش كمسلم، كمسيحي، كأي ديانة، تقدر تصلي، تقدر تروح على الجامع، بنفس الوقت تقدر تروح في أي وقت على الخمارة مثلا، تقدر تشرب، تقدر
تقدر تتعاطى مخدرات، تقدر تعمل شو ما بدك في هاي البلد، ما في أي رقيب عليك غير نفسك. بنفس الطريقة الحياة هون مناسبة للطالب برضو مناسبة لحياة العائلة. أنا بعد ما قضيت تقريبا 5 سنين ونص أو 6 سنين في حياتي كطالب هون خلينا نحكي عزابي من غير عائلة، في هاي الفترة شفت إنه مناسب جدا إنه الإنسان هون يبني عائلة من كل النواحي. بناء على ذلك اتجهت إني أنا خطبت وتجوزت وزوجتي أجت لهون، وبنفس الوقت كمان يعني زوجتي الآن هي طالبة دكتوراه، والحمد لله ربنا رزقنا في بنت الآن عمرها سنة اسمها زينة. مبسوطين كثير في حياتنا في قبرص كعائلة. يعني لقينا مثلا الحضانة لبنتي كانت كثير يعني تعاملهم معها ممتاز. احتضنوها من وهي يعني بعمر صغير جدا، كانوا بيعوضوا مكان الأم والأب، لأنه زوجتي هي طالبة في الجامعة وأنا بشتغل، فهم عوضوا مكاننا وسهلوا علينا من كل النواحي. يعني من وقت الولادة، المستشفى، دكتور، كل الأمور ميسرة وموجودة. ربما بس لو بدنا نحكي عن عوائق، هو بس العائق المالي. لو أنت معك بتقدر يعني توفر لنفسك المال الكافي، ما بتحتاج أي شيء في هاي البلد، كل شيء موجود ومتوفر بسهولة. يعني من وقت الولادة للآن عمرها سنة بنتي، وكعائلة أنا وزوجتي كمان كل شيء يعني ميسر ومسهل، والحياة آمنة، وبتوقع إنها حياة مناسبة لبناء عائلة هون. يعني ما في حدا بتدخل بحدا، الإنسان بعيش بسعادة في بيته زي ما هو بده يعني. بالنسبة للحقوق العمال هون موجود، يعني في إجباري إنه كل مشغل كمثلا بالنسبة لي كمطعم إجباري إني أنا أدفع تأمين لكل عامل عندي في المطعم شهريا تقريبا 1000 ليرة بالشهر. هاي بتضمن له حقوقه في المستقبل، وبنفس الوقت في تأمين صحي إجباري لكل عامل. نوعا ما مقارنة في وضع البلد هون ممتاز، حقوق العامل يعني مكفولة أحسن من كثير دول متقدمة ومعترف فيها أكثر من هون. برأيي إنه العامل منصف يعني في البلد هون، بس ربما المشغل يواجه مشاكل في هذا الصدد. يعني المشغل بصير التزاماته كبيرة، مع العلم إنه الدخل محدود. يعني السوق هو سوق طلاب، أسعار الوجبات هي محدودة، التزامات كثيرة لصاحب العمل. لما ينزاد عليها الحقوق العامل، وبنفس الوقت العامل بده حقوق وبده إيجار برضو يعني كويس، يعني بالنسبة له يكون كافي، فبصير ثقل على المشغل صاحب العمل. صراحة أنا للمرحلة اللي وصلت فيها مريت بمراحل كثير صعبة وتحديات. الحياة الطالب هون مش سهل إنه يشتغل، حتى لو اشتغل شغله ما بيكفيه كامل. يعني إذا ما في حد كأهل مسؤولين عنه بيصرفوا عليه بيساعدوا، ما في أي طالب في هاي البلد بيقدر إنه يشتغل ويوفر لنفسه السكن والمصروف وقسط الجامعة. لأنه يعني يا دوب الطالب لما يشتغل هون يوفر السكن، ما بكفي لقسط الجامعة أو لمصروف ولا للمجموع. أنا مريت في مراحل متعددة. يعني بلشت أنا أول ما أشتغل أخفف شوي عن أهلي، كانوا يبعثوا لي أهلي ويساعدوني في القسط مثلا، كنت أوفر سكني ومصروفي. بعد هيك تطورت في الشغل لحد ما صرت أنا صاحب عمل، يعني بطلت بحاجة لحدا يعينني من أهلي، أو يعني صار في عندي اكتفاء ذاتي. ولكن برأيي الدخل هون في البلد يعني غير منصف بالنسبة للدولار، لأنه لو رحت تدفع إيجار بيت بدك تدفعه في الدولار، لو بدك تدفع للجامعة كطالب تدفع في الدولار، لما بدك تشتغل بتاخد إيجارك في الليرة. ويعني الريت تبع الدولار على الليرة غير يعني منصف نهائيا. الأسعار في البلد جدا رخيصة. هذا من منظور صاحب مطعم. قبل ما أكون أنا صاحب مطعم، يعني كنت طالب، كنت أحكي إنه على إيش مثلا هاي السندويش حقه 12 ليرة، على إيش هاي الوجبة 40 ليرة، إنه ليش. بس لما أنت تصير صاحب العمل وتشوف عن قرب التكاليف والمصروفات، تعرف إنه لا، يعني لسه رخيصة. يعني اللي أنا كنت أحكي عنها غالي، هي بنظر صاحب العمل هي وجبة خسرانة. يعني بس الواحد مثلا بيمسك سندويشته بحسب شو كلفت هاي السندويشة، خبزة وشوية دجاج وهيك. بس في مصروفات تانية كثيرة أكبر من الدجاج والخبزة. في إيجار عمال، في كهرباء، وفي مي، وفي إنترنت، وفي ضريبة، في كثير شغلات. حتى لما أنت كصاحب عمل تقعد تكتبها وتحسبها بتنسى أشياء منها. مصروفات كبيرة كثير جدا يعني، والزبون صعب يشعر فيها. بس برأيي هون لو نقارن الأسعار في هاي البلد مع البلاد الأخرى، جدا الأسعار طلابية ومناسبة ورخيصة، وهي أحيانا كثير بتكون ظالمة لصاحب العمل، خاصة المطاعم. ولو يعني نعمل إحصائية على المطاعم هون، بنلاقي إنه كثير مطاعم بتسكر وكثير مطاعم بتخسر بسبب إنه الأسعار غير مناسبة للمصروفات، أسعار منخفضة، في يعني حد بسبب إنه الزبائن هم طلاب وما يعني ما بقدر يرفع الأسعار.
Do you think you have rights? Do you know what they are? Do you think they're respected by your boss?
Come again?
Do you have rights as a worker? So do you think you're being treated well at your job? Is your boss expecting you to think you're like an equal human being?
Yeah, that is one of the problem that we are facing here. Like some of us are the students who are doing part-time jobs. We don't really have equal rights. Yeah, there is this complaint that people usually give, and not only me. Like some of my friends who are also students here, they always complain about that also, that we don't have equal rights here. And I'm talking depending on what I have also experienced here. There's no equal right. Like there is this, when working with these people, there is people do complain of that they do maltreat people in such a way that they are not supposed to do it, something like that. Like you work for somebody, even the payment is a very difficult task. For them to give you money is a difficult task. So I don't really know. So I don't know if, I don't know. When you're working with the people, they don't take you equal.
Yeah.
That is what I've noticed. And I just believe it is good to say your mind. Yeah, they don't take you equal. There are some certain aspects that you are being treated. Where a certain aspect where you are not supposed to be treated like that. I don't know if it is because we are from our own area, or we are foreigners or something like that. So we are just pleading that we should be equal. Yeah, we are all one. We should be equal.
So let's start with how Corona affected the international student population, or the student population here in generally. Me personally, I've seen a lot of students who had like a 180-degree change in their lives due to Corona and the lockdown. The economic changes, some people got laid off from their works. It was their main source of income. Some people, it affected them mentally in a huge way. I think it's had a big change on the international students here in the northern part of Cyprus. What do you think?
It's no big secret that the coronavirus, this pandemic, and rightly so called the pandemic, has had like a massive effect on the lives of foreign students here in in the northern part of Cyprus. To be fair, given our experience with students here, there's always been lots of challenges for students in the northern part of Cyprus. And I think that the pandemic just simply amplified these issues, because some of the support systems which they had pre the pandemic basically were non-existent during the pandemic. And support systems, self-support systems, for example, like students who could get jobs here and there, which enabled them to make some money to be able to have a decent life, or at least attempt to have a decent life. With the pandemic, these jobs were lost for many students, and And I mean, it has made many people to reconsider their stay here in the northern part of Cyprus. In fact, we've seen with the evacuations, the number of students who are leaving. Because, I mean, it is one thing staying here and going to school and working and trying to meet up with expenses. It's another thing just staying and studying and not working and not having any means of sustaining yourself. So I believe for many students, the choice is I'd rather go back home and do my studies online from home. I mean, why should I come and pay a house, stay out of my country, stay away from my family, and then have to withstand the emotional and psychological stress, the financial stress as well caused by the pandemic.
Moving to a new country can exert a serious mental toll on anyone. Feelings of loneliness, culture shock, and anxiety can prove to be daunting. International students need all the help they can get to not succumb to depression. It is our collective duty to pay attention to the mental well-being of every student, seeing to it that there is equal access to mental health resources.
It's not only about the monetary aspect of it, but also the health care, in the sense that the healthcare system here has always been one which has lots of questions. In fact, we've written reports about it as VOIS, about why it needs to be strengthened. And we see with the pandemic, especially this second wave for Cyprus, because the first wave, I think, was for northern part of Cyprus was really under control by the administration. But the second wave has been, I mean, we all see now there are over 80-something persons currently that we know of currently under care. There might be more, which we don't know of. And as a foreign student, and I'm sure I speak for many foreign students, people ask themselves, before the pandemic, I had difficulties going to the hospital to be taken care of. What if I get sick? What if I have the coronavirus? Are the hospitals going to have the capacity to be able to take care of me properly? You know, so there is that aspect as well, which I feel like it's not really been considered especially by the administration, what students think about living here during the pandemic. That's a big question. But no doubt, post the pandemic, if there's ever going to be something post the pandemic, northern part of Cyprus is going to be entirely different from what was before the pandemic and what we are currently facing. It's going to be entirely different because this pandemic has really brought to the forefront many of the challenges students were facing and has really amplified them. And we even see with the recent statements by the mother of this Nigerian student who unfortunately lost his life here. I mean, this happened, I think, sometime in November or December when he lost his life. And then it was this August that the parents or the mother really brought it to the forefront. You see the heated conversation, the debate this has brought about Nigerian students here with the Nigerian, or some members of the Nigerian government threatening to blacklist the northern part of Cyprus. I don't think that is going to happen anyways, but at least it has brought this to the international media. You have people who perhaps knew about the northern part of Cyprus but had never really covered it, now paying attention to it, saying, okay, what is happening here? And because there are questions, there's going to be the need for answers. And these answers is really going to shape, these answers, by the way, and by these answers, I mean how the administration responds to this, is really going to shape how the northern part of Cyprus is going to be in the future.
I've definitely been through tough times mentally here. And yeah, I think the reason was because, you know, when you're studying engineering, or necessarily, I think when you study a lot of degrees nowadays, there isn't necessarily a focus on meaning, and there isn't necessarily a focus on what's going to happen after you graduate. The curriculum is not set up in a way that aims to help you succeed with the way the world is set up now. And I think when you're looking into the future, you sort of realize most of the things you're doing in class don't correlate with what's actually going on in the real world. And for me, that was a very big obstacle, because I'm the kind of person who, if I'm engaging in an activity, I like to know that whatever I'm doing is relevant and whatever I'm doing is going to have meaning. And imagine going to class, let's say, for about 20 plus hours a week, and you're doing things that are not necessarily going to help your future, and you can be doing better things with your time. So that sort of had a very, very big effect on my mental. And the word I usually like to say is it made me feel stifled. Yeah, it made me feel stifled a lot. And it sort of just messes with your head a lot. And I was thinking about it, and it sort of pushes you to a dark place to an extent. But luckily for me, I would say I had friends, I had, people to guide me through it, and the love that people showed me. So I was just like, and that was what helped me get out of that place mentally, and to be at the place where I am now, because now I feel as though I'm okay and I'm happy and I'm living the way I want to be living. But at the beginning, it wasn't easy. I'm not even going to lie about that. And yeah.
Not necessarily. I don't feel safe talking to a psychologist, because the last time I tried it, they literally, because I don't know, like I said before, probably different upbringings or different experiences. They looked at us like, oh, we were having this very hard life or something like that. When you try to explain, oh, back home, this was normal for us compared to the way people view things here. And you're looking at you like, oh, your life must have been very terrible or very hard. Rather than trying to listen and understand, they tend to listen and judge. So it wasn't really, not necessarily a nice experience, because most times it's, as an African, it's almost, you kind of feel weak even thinking of going to a psychologist. So imagine after fighting those battles personally, and you're like, okay, let me just see how this thing goes, and you go there and someone is looking at you like a lab rat, you wouldn't want to go back.
The problem in this island when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to the hospitals, how they treat students, and how they react when it comes to students, they come to them. I lost 2 friends who went to the general hospital here in this island. One of them passed away in January. I can't say the names because, but I can tell you the incidents. Back in January, my friend passed away. He had diabetes. So sometimes diabetes make you dizzy. So they sent him to the general hospital. Rather than checking his blood and this, they gave him glucose, which is increase his level of sugar in his body. That leads to diabetic coma, where 3 days later he passed away. The other friend who passed away in May, this May, lack of ambulance. Where, have you ever seen an ambulance without a nurse, without even the machines? It's just a bed. My friend, suddenly his heart stopped. We called the ambulance. They were already more than 10 minutes late. And the ambulance came without a nurse, without no machines. I was even surprised. That's why I went to the general hospital after them. He also got in a coma, where he got brain damaged because the blood wasn't reaching the brain. He stayed in a coma for 5 to 6 days. And then he passed away. That's the problem when it comes to medical healthcare here. Even me, they thought that I had corona, and then they had to beat me up. I guess you can see here. They had to beat me up there, just because I was refusing, telling them that I don't have corona. That's the problem when it comes to the healthcare.
Considering my mental health, The situations I have been in here, my mental health was affected. There was a time, it was for not long actually, just 2-3 months, that I was, I actually isolated myself. I wasn't speaking to anybody. I would just go to school and come back home. At that time, I didn't even have a job because it was just right after the summer in September. So I went to my friends to try talking, but then I could just see them having a great life where everything is okay and their expenses are being paid off, and I would just sit and think that why I cannot be like this. At those times I was letting all these odds affect me, and then I just thought maybe I could go to PDRAM to talk about it. I went to PDRAM. I had appointments every week, and she would ask me all these questions that I did not have answers to. But then I just told myself I have to be strong no matter what. I shouldn't be giving up like this or even being sad about these things, because if I think about everything over here, I signed up for this maybe, and there's a reason I'm here, or there's a reason I am in this environment. With time, I kept teaching myself that thing, and I don't even know. I just got better, or let's say maybe I got used to it, that I don't even feel the pain that's in my head.
Every human has a right to a roof above their head. No one should be homeless or suffer maltreatment when it comes to housing in today's age and world, yet unfortunately it still happens. In order for a human being to be dignified, they must have a roof over their head, and it must be of good condition. They must be assured that their housing treatment will not depend on their race. Their rights as a tenant must be upheld, and rules and regulations must be put in place on landlords to prevent abuse. Only then can a society claim to be well developed in the housing sector and offer its people a good standard of living.
The reason that I decided that I needed first to be the one in charge of finding my own house, because I've seen a lot of scamming that goes around in relation with finding a house here, or renting a house, or buying or investing. So there's so many scales when it comes to this matter. And agents that lie to you, photos that are not like reality. You buy a house and then you pay the deposit. You rent a house and then you pay the deposit, and then everything just breaks loose, right after the agent leaves the building. Even though the agent didn't even tell you that there's a commission. So now you need to explain to your parents that you need to pay 2,000 more just because of your agent. And this is not, appropriate. And not just that, so many different issues that comes with finding a house as well, and how it's all independent. Actually, there's no rule or a platform that is professional enough with the services that shows okay, this is what we have, this is what we can offer, this is what we stand by till the end of the road with you. Plus, after, what happens after I get the house or rent the house or buy the house, this is more important because I'm gonna be living there for a year, 2, or for the rest of my life. So you can't just reach there and just let go, you know? You can't sell me a car but not tell me how to drive it. It's so many different issues. So now that I am in the architectural field, after I graduated as an architect, I realized that, okay, I have a certain level of information, you know, in regards to the environment, space, and buildings, and, you know, all that. So I realized to continue into real estate and to offer as much as I can, because that's how I felt it was an issue.
Living in dorms, especially when the financial background is not that strong, it can be difficult. I faced housing issues over here mainly because of my financial reasons. The place I was living at, they needed certain amount of money by the certain time and I couldn't pay it. So I was deprived of my accommodation, which I think could have been avoided if the authority had some understanding about such students. At some point, I do not blame them as well because they also have somebody to answer to. But what I believe that it wouldn't have been so bad if they could have just let a student like that have some time and figure out the issues. Housing for other people, I'm not sure how that goes because I actually have seen families getting deprived of the roof. And from my personal experience, it wasn't nice, it was hopeless, it was a hard time. And I think that when it comes to financial situations, nobody really cares about that. They do not listen and they just do what they think is right at that moment. The way I was treated, obviously, I do not think it was fair. I wish there was another way, and I actually remember that every night. So from that perspective, it wasn't fair. It wasn't even right. It wasn't even according to the humanity.
I'll be very frank and honest about this. I'm a landlord. He's a landlord. She's a landlord. We can all be landlords. And this is someone who bought a house. I'm talking about foreigners, let's say, in a place, who bought a house and who wants to invest in this house. If they're not going to live in it, therefore they're renting it for a purpose. And all they need is good care. But you can't just be like, okay, that landlord is a bad guy who pushes us to pay our rent or to take care of the house or he lied to us. He took my deposit for breaking just the TV. The TV costs a lot. So him going through a lot of unfortunate events and experiences makes him evolve into this bad landlord. Just I want to keep that in mind. But with that in mind, that also again does not justify you being a really hard-headed, and strong-arm anyone whoever is renting, because you own the house and you can just, make it official that this person that lives in your house has committed a crime whatsoever, and you can kick him out. So you cannot just threaten whoever is living in your house as a landlord because you're in charge. So both ways, they both should really understand their situation. So I can't justify this, or I can't justify being way too noisy and still be like, I have a contract, I can stay here for a year. So I'm on both sides, I'm actually neutral.
When I think about the northern part of Cyprus, I think about those beautiful beaches. I think of its rich history and its constant clash with different civilizations. I think of its people and its constant struggle to find a place for itself in today's world.
more importantly, I think of the thousands of foreign students and workers who live here, and I wonder what their experiences are in this unique place, a place which is at constant loggerheads with its history, present, and its future. Doing this project, our intention was always to understand the experiences of foreign students here like never before. We intended to use the lens to put human faces and voices to these experiences which we often hear about. But the northern part of Cyprus is not only its foreign students. As such, we interviewed locals in efforts to also get to know how they view the experiences and encounters with foreign students. Our goal has been to like never before put faces to the numerous stories we hear from students about their experiences and from locals about their interactions with students. We hope that bringing these stories to the limelight will generate much needed discussion and engender the change which we need to make society better for both students and locals. We don't intend to denigrate any one person or any one organization or the people living in the northern part of Cyprus. No, we are simply amplifying voices and hope that as we do, the stakeholders and duty bearers pay attention because we have so much to offer each other.
If you could give a message to maybe potential students that plan on coming here, what would you say?
I would say that, what would I say to those who want to come here? Well, guys, it's beautiful, first of all. It's beautiful when it comes to like nature, like sights, everything. It's amazing, breathtaking.
I just want people who are in the same situation as I am, that they can come to me or anybody else or to the people who are around me right now, and they can talk to them and they can share their experiences. They shouldn't feel that they are not a part of this place. They are, and actually such people are making a journey that in the future days will be used as examples.
For all the students who are suffering with anxiety, suffering with all of this, patience, pray, wait, and anxiety will help you love yourself more. You know, even though you can be stressed about yourself, about your health, it makes you more aware to your health, more aware to yourself. So don't think that you're different. Don't think that you are going crazy. But you know, just understand that patience, and inshallah everything will be okay.